In our series of high-yield endocrine emergencies for the USMLE, today we will discuss hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, also known as hyperosmolar hyperglycemic non-ketotic syndrome slash coma. There is a high-yield emergency for the USMLE step 2, CK, and step 1. Most commonly occurs in elderly type 2 diabetics who have impaired thirst mechanism or reduced access to water or obviously impaired cognition. And there are different triggers for HHS, and the most common, just like DKA as we discussed previously, is infection like pneumonia or UTI or gastroenteritis. But apart from infections, most of these patients have comorbs like MI or stroke. But also you should remember that there are different medicines which increase the predisposition to HHS in these elderly diabetics, and these include steroids or thyroid diuretics or SGLT2 inhibitors. And other triggers include like insulin non-compliance. Well, these are common high-yield triggers for the USMLE. Regarding pathophysiology, there are three high-yield points that you should remember. First, there is relative insulin deficiency, enough to suppress ketoacidosis and lipolysis and therefore subsequent ketoacidosis, but not enough to suppress hyperglycemia, and which in turn leads to hyperosmolarity and osmotic diuresis and subsequent profound dehydration. You should also remember that hyperosmolarity also causes cellular dehydration, especially in the brain, that leads to altered mental status that we see in patients with HHS. And one important difference from DKA, in HHS, there is insidious onset and gradually it progresses. The condition worsens over days to weeks, as in contrast to DKA, which is an acute onset and occurs acutely over hours to days. And clinical features include signs related to profound dehydration like tachycardia, hypotension, or dry mucous membranes, or reduced skin turgor. Second, due to hyperosmolarity, there are neurologic signs like lethargy, confusion, seizures, or focal neurologic deficits. And you should remember that HHS can sometimes present as and can mimic stroke in different patients. And another important thing that you should remember, that as there is no ketoacidosis in patients with HHS, so there are signs which are related to metabolic acidosis like cough-mouth, breathing pattern, or fruity smell due to high acetone levels, or abdominal pain. But these signs are not present in patients with HHS. Regarding diagnosis, there is a criteria that you need to memorize, which includes hyperglycemia. Blood glucose levels are often more than 600 milligram per deciliter in patients with HHS. And there is hyperosmolarity with serum osmolarity more than 320 millismol per kilogram. And here I will ask you guys, how do you calculate the effective osmolarity? Yeah, it's just 2 into serum sodium concentration plus serum glucose levels are divided by 18. And apart from this, as there is no metabolic acidosis in these patients, therefore the pH is more than 7.3. Bicarb levels are more than 15 to 18 milliequivalent per liter, and anion gap is usually normal or mildly elevated. And or serum or urine ketones, they are absent or just minimally elevated. And apart from this diagnostic criteria, on the labs you see just due to profound dehydration, prerenal azotemia, and elevated blood urea nitrogen to creatinine values, and also sometimes you see hypernatremia as well in these patients. Regarding treatment, after ABC, airway, breathing, circulation, and ICU care, we give an initial fluid bolus of 1 to 1.5 liter of normal saline within the first hour, and then over the next several hours we just gradually correct the fluid deficit and can give up to 8 to 10 liters of fluids. But you should remember here that we can never do a rapid fluid correction because that can lead to cerebral edema in these patients. And when the blood glucose levels normalize and patient is obviously hypernatremic, then we can switch to half normal saline in these patients. And after the initial fluid bolus, we should start the insulin infusion at the rate of about 0.1 unit per kg per hour. And here you should remember that we do not give insulin bolus in contrast to DKA patients in HHS. And target blood glucose drop should be about 50 to 75 milligram per deciliter per hour. And apart from this, we obviously give antibiotics to treat the underlying infection. And that's it. But these are the things that you should remember, that high yield points for the hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. So in the USMLE, you might see a scenario about an elderly type 2 diabetic patient presenting with altered mental status, having the signs of an infection and blood glucose levels more than 600 milligram per deciliter, and no or absent ketones in the blood. Then the likely patient has hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. And you should remember that you should never start insulin before starting fluids in these patients. And another important thing that you should always remember, that HHS can present with focal neurologic deficits and can mimic stroke as well. So these are the high yield points that you should remember for HHS patients.